want the truth? You're getting the truth.
KFI, more stimulating talk radio.
John and Ken Show. John Cobelt and Ken Shampoo.
All right, the vote in the state Senate in Sacramento was 21-16 in favor of moving forward on the brown doggle. That, of course, is about issuing the bonds to begin construction, not only in the Central Valley, the 130-mile segment of the slow-speed rail, but also doling out $2 billion for local rail projects, including buying BART train cars.
You know,
really?
I am looking through the text of the proposition, and it is densely worded, and it's lengthy, as you could imagine. And this is the stuff that nobody reads before they vote on this crap. The way I read it, and Doug LaMalfa, the state senator we just had on, said, yeah, there's $950 million available. $950 million that you could spend on local projects that feed directly into the connectivity of the high-speed rail system. In other words, if you have some kind of commuter train that will get you to the high-speed rail station, and then you could do high-speed rail San Francisco to L.A. in 2 hours and 40 minutes, you could spend a small amount of money, $950 million out of the roughly $10 billion. But they're talking about $2 billion here. I don't know how they get to spend $2 billion. And the trick here is, if you had all the money, let's say this was a good idea, and you had all the money available, right? You had $100 billion available. You could spend a small amount of money to create feeder systems into the main high-speed rail line, to get people into San Francisco before they go San Francisco to L.A., to get people into L.A. before you get them to go to San Francisco. You know, if this was a good idea and we had all the money in the world, that is defensible. But what they're doing here is knowing that this high-speed rail eventually is going to hit a wall. At best, they're going to have some track in the farmlands in the Central Valley that will never be used. They're using that loophole to dump $2 billion into local projects, saying, well, this is all going to feed into high-speed rail. Knowing that high-speed rail is never really going to exist, but, hey, we got a chance to spend money locally anyway on existing rail projects. And the way I read the bill, they're spending twice as much as they're allowed to. And they're spending a lot of it just in San Francisco. So,
well, actually, I read there's $500 million going to Southern California rail projects. That's coming out of this, too.
Well, yeah, but that's only 1/4 of the $2 billion.
Yeah, that's right. $1.5 billion for the Bay Area.
Yeah,
and maybe Central California is getting something. I didn't see every detail.
We've got you know the biggest chunk of the population here in Southern California, in the Los Angeles area. But we're getting only a small amount of the money, and what money's being spent is not being spent on high-speed rail.
Now, we were just talking about this also with Doug LaMalfa, the lawsuits, and I just found a story that came out a couple of days ago. Remember Kings County, which, by the way, looks pretty small on the map. Hanford, Corcoran, and Lemoore are some of the towns in Kings County.
Yeah, it's rural.
It's pretty rural. Anyway, they're supposedly ground zero for the opposition to this, and they've already filed a lawsuit. The judge said in June this is premature. He told them, come back when the High-Speed Rail Authority is moving more forward with their plan. Well, I can't think of any bigger movement forward than getting the bonds approved.
Seems that way, yeah.
So now they should be able to go back into court and say, all right, they approved issuing the bonds. Why don't you take a look at our lawsuit again and make a ruling? Because, again, the basis of the lawsuit is the simple fact that you cannot get from San Francisco to Los Angeles in the promised 2 hours and 40 minutes as per the ballot initiative from 2008. I mean, that's a simple violation. You would hope you would rule on that.
Well, yeah, they can't. Not only do they have to submit a plan, but the plan has to be provable and plausible. And it's not hard to estimate train times. Whatever the maximum speed is on any given stretch of track, it's just simple mathematics. A 12-year-old could probably figure it out.
All right, now listen to this clip from today's debate over the issuing of the bonds for the brown doggle. This is a state senator by the name of Mark DeSaulnier from Concord. By the way, the last few months, he has been the most vocal in terms of the Democrats and talking about how, hey, maybe we shouldn't go ahead with the brown doggle. But listen carefully.
Listen to the fear in his voice.
Yeah, the statement he made. Although he voted no, boy, oh boy, is he worried and is he nervous. Let's listen.
I am convinced that for me, I have to be a no vote. And there is risk to that. I acknowledge that. I have had conversations with friends who are in Washington, and they have told me that my position risks us losing that federal grant. Now, there is a risk if we don't, as I said, act today, and I'm aware of it. But for me, I have to weigh those risks. And lastly, I'd like to my friends in labor and organized labor who, if it were not for them, I doubt if I would be here. And if it were not for their support, my passion for their belief, and the men and women who have made this state, built this state, and often fought this country's wars, that I would not want to be here if it wasn't to advocate for them. So some of them have questioned my loyalty to their belief and their need for jobs. Well, I fear if this goes forward, they won't get the number or the kind of jobs they want because the Valley section will be litigated and it will be delayed.
No, and there's the part that I wanted you to focus on at the end. Certainly, DeSaulnier thinks that they're never going to get going here because of the lawsuits. But overall, listen to the context of that. He's afraid the great union powers are going to be mad at him for voting no over the jobs they believe they're going to get from the brown dog.
Did you hear the tremble in his voice? Did you hear the shakiness? These guys are truly terrified of the union goons that beat on them every day. They sell themselves, their soul, their votes, everything. They sell themselves out to the union goons, and then every day the phone rings. And the union goon is saying, give me more, give me more. And these are the government workers and other politically connected unions.
And politically correct. All right, when we come back, we'll play something from Darrell Steinberg, because we told you yesterday a field poll that just came out said that a chunk of voters are not voting for Jerry Brown's taxes. This brings us back to the tax revolt if they move ahead with spending money on the brown doggle. Steinberg addressed this today during the debate. You'll hear what he has to say coming up.
John and Ken.